Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Before we get to today's main subject, a short item that I want to share with everybody. Very interesting. Sidney Powell, I'm sure you all know the attorney, Sidney Powell, has been filing lawsuits in several courts over the Dominion voting machines and also a software company called Smartmatic USA for fraud in the November 3rd election. Well, not necessarily fraud, but that the machines were not accurate, that the results could not be trusted, that there had been manipulation. Why I say not necessarily fraud, because one could argue whether these problems happened accidentally or deliberately. I would go with deliberately, but legally you would need a court case really to decide that. But Dominion sent a letter, or Dominion's lawyers sent a letter to Sidney Powell demanding that she retract her derogatory or critical statements of Dominion and Smartmatic, or else they would sue for defamation. Well, Sidney Powell got a lawyer, and guess who the lawyer is? Lin Wood. Lin Wood is one of the lawyers. Well, he has been working with Sidney Powell on these lawsuits in these various courts, but also, in case you don't know or don't remember, he was the attorney who represented Nick Sandmann in his defamation suit against the Washington Post and some other publications. He won a multi-million-dollar settlement. The exact amount is not known because there was a non-disclosure agreement. The rumor is that it was on the order of $250 million. Pretty nice payday for Lin Wood. He is now representing Sidney Powell against Dominion. He sent a letter. Here is a letter, a very short letter, just 2 paragraphs, which are also just 2 sentences. I just wanted to share with everybody. Very, very good. Basically, well, I'll just read you the letter. Here it is. Dear Eric, that was the attorney that sent the letter apparently. I represent Sidney Powell. I have carefully reviewed your letter of December 15th, 2020. I am not impressed. Ms. Powell retracts nothing. File your lawsuit. So we'll see what happens. Now, why this is significant, not just showing some backbone from Sidney Powell that I wish more Republicans would show, but not just that, but if this goes to discovery, then Sidney Powell will have a legal right to audit these Dominion voting machines, because if they are saying that she's making false statements about the voting machines, then she has a perfect right to examine the machines. And if she's found to be wrong, then she can either pay a penalty, retract her accusation, or whatever would happen. The point is that the courts have been denying, except in one case, I forget which state it is offhand, but these courts have been denying Sidney Powell the ability, the right to examine these machines. But now if Dominion, that's the irony, if Dominion files a suit, then she will have a right. The court will have no choice but to let her examine these machines, because the whole case, the whole lawsuit hinges, or would hinge, on the integrity of these machines. So I wanted to share that with you. Very interesting. Since we're talking about legal niceties, now let's go on to constitutional niceties. This is something that has bothered me for a while. It didn't keep me up at night, but the Paris Climate Agreement and the nuke deal with Iran, the JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, if you want the full legal name. Well, of course I oppose both of those. Full disclosure, I'm a conservative. Always keep that in mind when you evaluate whatever I say. But what bothered me about these, well, they're treaties. What bothered me about these treaties that were mischaracterized as agreements or deals is precisely that they were actually treaties to get around Congress, which would not have approved these deals, which are actually treaties. Obama went around Congress by calling them deals and by making these agreements without the authorization of Congress. Now, I support that we withdrew from both of these treaties, but I disagreed strongly with the way Trump did it. So it's kind of finessing of the issue here to say that I opposed what Trump did, withdrawing from the treaty. I have to say that Donald Trump should not have withdrawn from either of those deals/treaties. That does not mean, however, though, that we should keep the treaties, that those treaties are good. Now, you're probably saying, well, there's a contradiction there. You're being hypocritical. What are you trying to say? You can't have it both ways. This is what I'm trying to say, and I am heartened to learn today, I'm recording this on Tuesday, you're seeing it on Wednesday, that Ted Cruz agrees with me. He's doing exactly what I believe the president should have done in the first place, and he didn't do. Let me give you the headline. Cruz to Trump: send Paris-Iran deals to Senate so they can fail. Now, what is misleading about that headline, and well, let me give you a little bit of the article, then I'll give you my comments. In the waning days of the Trump administration, Senator Ted Cruz has quietly been urging the president to submit both the Iran nuclear deal and the Paris Climate Agreement to the Senate for ratification, but not because they would succeed, rather because they would inevitably fail. The equivalent of a constitutional tripwire, Cruz's gambit would force a showdown between the Senate and President-elect Joe Biden. President Trump pulled out of the agreements. Biden has promised to recommit the United States to both without congressional approval. In a letter obtained by Real Clear Politics, the Texas senator is pressing both the President and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to submit the pacts before Trump leaves office. Now, what they're missing here is that this article is viewing this as strictly a policy issue, putting Biden in a bind, because if you think back to at least the JCPOA with Iran, what happened was Republicans demanded that this deal/treaty, which is actually a treaty, be submitted to Congress for the required 2/3 vote to give their consent to the president to ratify and sign the treaty, which the president would not have gotten. What happened, though, which shows how craven the Democrats are, at least the ones in the Senate, they blocked that. They sided with the president President Obama at that time, doing something constitutional. And what they did was they came up with a kind of rigmarole that the deal would go through unless Congress disapproved it. In other words, or the Senate disapproved it. In other words, turned the Constitution on its head and made the Senate's disapproval, failure to give consent by 2/3. By 2/3, the requirement for negating the treaty as opposed to what it's supposed to be, which is the other way around, 2/3 consent to the treaty. But they are treating, this article is treating the whole affair as just a policy gambit. In other words, submitting both agreements to the Senate so that they can fail, and then the Senate is on the record as not approving the treaties, which would make it harder for, if Biden goes through with it anyways, because you'd probably get a fair amount, I would imagine, of Democratic votes that would oppose the treaty too. So it does put them in a bind, but that is not the point, which is well, here's what Cruz said, taking again from the article. Here is a quote. what he said, quote, "I urge you now also to remedy the harm done to the balance of powers by submitting the Iran deal and the Paris Agreement to the Senate as treaties," Cruz continued, unquote. Quote, "Only by so doing will the Senate be able to satisfy its constitutional role to provide advice and consent in the event any future administration attempts to revive these dangerous deals," unquote. Or use the same method, I would add, to get around the Senate to ratify, to put into effect some other treaty that might come up in the future. So you have to stop this. You have to, well, the president needs to submit both of these agreements, the Iran deal and the Paris Climate Accord, submit them both to Congress as treaties, and then the Senate, the House, in case you don't know, under the Constitution has no role in approving treaties. It's strictly the Senate. Then have the vote on it, and if it fails, then it fails, and then you have the precedent there reinforcing that these kinds of agreements, deals, are really treaties, and they must be submitted, no matter who the president is, or who controls the Senate. These agreements must be submitted to the Senate. That is, in my opinion, the overpowering issue that has to be dealt with. I am frankly surprised that the Senate did not do this at that time, but definitely going forward with this as a precedent, if some future president tries this again, to go to the Supreme Court and say this is a treaty, it was required to be submitted to the Senate, it was not, and therefore any ratification by the president is of no force and effect. And this is a very important point, the Senate needs to do that no matter who the president is. If it's a Republican Senate, for instance, that's what I'm specifically thinking of, a Republican Senate, and you have a Republican president, you should not do what the Democrats did, even if it's a Republican president working around the Senate, violating the separation of powers to make these quote-unquote deals that are really treaties. You have to show some integrity there. I am, well, after seeing this 5,000 pages plus, or 5,000 plus pages COVID deal containing such things as $10 million to Pakistan for some kind of gender studies. I mean, come on. That just, the bottom line is that does not give me a lot of faith in even the Republicans, since they went along with this this coronavirus monstrosity. I don't have a lot of faith that they'll do the right thing either. But time will tell. Hopefully not too much time will tell whether I get a thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? Then you can put the comments in the comment section below the video, as well as questions, suggestions for future topics. You can visit my music channel, which I do under the name Gene Allan. There is a link in the description. You could subscribe. I love getting more subscribers. The more the merrier. And I really believe that a lot of my subscribers are merry people. So join their happiness and subscribe. Most of all, I really appreciate the time that you spend with me. I hope you'll continue to spend time with me. Most of all, I hope you'll continue to watch my vlog, that you'll come back. I look forward to seeing all of you again, and until I do see all of you again, bye.